Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Look, if you've been keeping tabs on education here in New Zealand lately, you know there is a massive, absolutely huge conversation going on right now about how we teach and really how our kids learn. As a New Zealand teacher myself, I know exactly what it feels like to navigate these shifting expectations in the classroom. It's a lot. But today, we're going to completely demystify these upcoming educational shifts. We're going to peek under the hood at the framework, break down the poor adjustments, and make sense of what this actually means on the ground. So get comfortable and let's unpack this together. Okay, let's dive into this. Why are we making these changes? Honestly, it's the exact question that is currently on everyone's mind right now. Whenever a whole education system goes through a shift this big, it naturally brings up a ton of questions and maybe even a little bit of anxiety, right? We have to figure out what wasn't working and what we're actually aiming to achieve with a brand new system. To really get the why, we need to start by looking at exactly who is sitting right at the center of this transition. The truth is, the ripple effect of a curriculum change touches absolutely everyone involved in our educational ecosystem. First and foremost, our teachers and school leaders are directly affected. They're the ones bringing this to life every single day. But it definitely doesn't stop at the school gates. Parents, you are hugely impacted when you're trying to support your child's learning at home. And of course, the students themselves are the ultimate focus. I want to reassure you right off the bat, whether you're teaching in a buzzing classroom, leading a school, or just helping out with homework at the kitchen table, these changes are designed to directly and positively impact you by providing some much-needed clarity. Section 1. The catalyst for change, understanding the problem. So let's talk about the previous curriculum. Now, it was built with a ton of good intentions. It really aimed to give schools a lot of flexibility. But, well, while flexibility sounds fantastic in theory, the reality was that the previous curriculum ultimately proved to be way too broad for the daily grind of modern classrooms. When your guidelines are that wide open, educators are basically forced to fill in the blanks entirely on their own. I'm talking about trying to decipher vague standards at like 9 o'clock on a Sunday night. We just really lacked specific direction. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how that broadness actually played out. The direct consequence was that the curriculum was left totally open to different interpretations. This meant that what was being taught and how deep it was being taught could vary wildly from one classroom to the next, and even from one school to the next. We simply lacked clear expectations. For parents trying to track their kids' progress and for teachers trying to ensure they were hitting the right benchmarks, that lack of consistency was just incredibly frustrating. We needed a setup where expectations weren't just a guessing game. Section 2. A clearer, consistent approach. The refreshed framework. And this brilliantly illustrates the exact shift we are talking about today. We are moving away from an old curriculum that was defined by broad, varied interpretations, and we're stepping into a refreshed curriculum that is clear, consistent, and heavily knowledge-rich. This isn't just some minor update, it's a fundamental shift in how we structure learning. We're ripping out the ambiguity and replacing it with a concrete, robust foundation of knowledge that every single student is entitled to receive. Right at the heart of this new, consistent approach is a concept called learning progressions. Basically, these progressions represent a structured, sequential path. They lay out exactly what students should know and exactly what they should be able to do at each specific stage of their education. Think of it like a crystal clear roadmap. It completely removes all that guesswork. For us teachers, it provides a precise guide for lesson planning, and for parents, it gives you a clear benchmark to understand exactly where your child should be at any given point in their schooling. Let's move to and see how this builds, because these new learning progressions are mapped out year by year. Instead of those broad phase bands where a student could kind of languish without mastering a specific skill, the refreshed curriculum sets a defined path. Year 1 leads purposefully into Year 2, which leads straight into Year 3, and so on. This year-by-year setup ensures that foundational knowledge is totally locked in before students asked to tackle more complex, advanced concepts. It's literally like building a sturdy educational house brick by brick. Section 3. Spotlight on mathematics, the application in the classroom. Now, as a math teacher myself, this is an area I am just deeply passionate about. The refreshed curriculum brings with it a brand new math mandate. And this mandate, it's specifically designed to establish foundational confidence and capability in math for every single student. By ditching those broad, open-to-interpretation guidelines, the new mandate finally zeroes in on exactly what mathematical skills actually need to be mastered. So the crucial point is that this new mathematics curriculum rests on 3 essential core pillars: number knowledge, reasoning, and problem solving.
Now, these aren't just fancy buzzwords, these are the absolute non-negotiable skills that form the bedrock of mathematical literacy. The curriculum places a massive emphasis on making sure students truly grasp numbers, that they can logically reason their way through a mathematical scenario, and that they actually possess the tools to solve complex problems.
And perhaps most importantly, these core pillars, number knowledge, reasoning, and problem solving, they're emphasized through all phases of a student's education. They aren't just boxed into one single term or one specific year group. Instead, they're continuously developed, revisited, and deeply integrated as the student progresses along that year-by-year timeline we looked at earlier. Sure, the complexity scales up, but those core foundational pillars, they remain the absolute focus from the first day of school to the last.
I know, change can feel a bit daunting, right? But as we've seen today, this shift from a super broad interpretive system to a clear, consistent, and knowledge-rich framework is genuinely exciting for the future of our students. If you want to stay in the loop and feel supported as we navigate all these changes together, I'd absolutely love for you to engage with our educational community. Make sure to follow Miss Teach NZ for more straightforward, practical educational insights just like this. I want to leave you with one final thought to chew on as we wrap up today's explainer. We've talked about moving away from those broad scopes. We've covered the introduction of clear, year-by-year learning progressions and that rigorous new emphasis on our core mathematical pillars. So ask yourself, how will these clear, consistent expectations transform your students' learning journey this year? It's a powerful question, and finding the answer is something we are all going to discover together. Thank you so much for learning with me today, and I look forward to exploring more with you next time.